Do you want to know how to teach your child not to say bad words? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I've raised 4 children of my own, as well as many troubled youth as a treatment foster parent. I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And I've dealt with my share of bad words, so let's talk about what to do. In this video, we're going to be talking about why the children choose to say those bad words and what you can do to help them choose not to. So it absolutely is a choice. What you say cannot really be controlled by somebody else. And that's sometimes, I think, why people choose to say bad words. It feels like freedom, like, I just did that. I picked something new. It seemed adventurous, daring, something like that, especially if parents don't say those words too. Now, if parents do say the bad words, they shouldn't be surprised if the children start saying the bad words. That is the number one place that a child will learn how to say bad words, is from the people that they are exposed to. So if you really don't want your child to use bad words, try to make sure, especially when they are little, that they're not exposed to them. And then as time goes by and they get a little bit older, you could talk with them about what the bad words are and why. That's going to be important. They do need to understand why. I will never forget the conversation that I had with my dad about the F word and what that really means and why I do not want to say it. Because I just said it one day, I was frustrated or something, I'd probably heard it from some person at school or something, and I said the word. And my dad came to me and he explained to me something totally different than what I thought it meant. And it was much more gruesome. I realized, no, I don't want to say that word, and that's absolutely not what I meant. So sometimes knowing a why is important. A lot of parents threaten their children or do drastic things like put Tabasco sauce on their tongues, or they put soap in their mouths, those types of things. I know my mom did the soap in the mouth quite a few times for me and for my siblings when we were experimenting with bad words. Now, you do need to recognize that almost every child will experiment once or twice with using a bad word, maybe even a few more times than that, especially during their adolescent years when they're feeling very insecure, and using some sort of a strong word like that makes them feel very powerful, makes them feel like they have a little bit more strength than they feel like they really do on a regular basis. They also are looking for more dynamic ways to express themselves, and their vocabularies are sometimes limited. One thing I did explain to my children was that swearing or using crass language actually just shows that you don't have a very good vocabulary, that you're probably not that intelligent. Now, that doesn't fully fly all the time, because I know a lot of really intelligent people who absolutely love to say some really crass language. But for the most part, when people use crass language all the time, it is because they honestly don't have another word to express themselves. So explaining that to a child could also help them understand why they could learn other words and maybe even be taken a little bit more seriously because they're not using explosive vocabulary like those bad words are. So what do I do to teach my children not to say bad words? Well, I'm going to teach them certain skills. If you've subscribed to this website already, then you know I teach a lot of skills of self-government. The skill that you want to focus on when it comes to bad words is the skill accepting a no answer. So there are 4 basic skills of self-government: following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When a person knows how to accept a no answer, then they know that there are certain boundary lines that are basically like hearing the word no. You just don't cross over that boundary line. You just don't do it. Now, a truly self-governed person tells themselves no on a regular basis. They say, nope, even though I just had a thought of maybe to do that, I will not. I will tell myself no, and I will accept that no answer. To accept a no answer, a person looks at the person or the situation, maybe even themselves sometimes, keeps a calm face, voice, and body, and then says okay to that no answer or that boundary line, or they disagree appropriately, which is quite frankly another option to saying a bad word out of frustration to somebody else. else. And then the last step is they drop the subject. Dropping the subject is something that they can do to just choose not to talk about it or think about it anymore. Oftentimes, when people are expressing themselves with crass language or curse words, it's an emotional reaction. They are thinking of some emotion on the inside and they're expressing it in a way that feels like they're getting that emotion out. Even if they're talking about something else that's not related, it comes out by expressing the curse word. So telling the child that they can choose not to think about whatever the situation is and drop the subject is actually something that can also lead to not getting trapped in a situation when you're swearing when you didn't actually want to. Now, if your child does swear, they need to know how you're going to handle it. And hopefully you're going to handle it with calmness. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a free gift that will help you with your calmness a little bit more. But in the meantime, let me just explain what I do as far as self-government goes. So in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting form, what we do is we teach the child ahead of time exactly what we will say in any correction and what types of negative consequences they will earn ahead of time. And then we simply keep our tolerances low and we follow through with calmness, love, and understanding. So you can have firmness and good discipline, but also be calm at the same time. And your children's anxiety levels can be lower because they know exactly how you will be correcting them every single time. So at first, if my child said a bad word, I would actually do what I call a pre-teach. My child knows what a pre-teach is. This is where I teach them ahead of time what's going to happen in the future. So if it was the first time saying a bad word, I would use that as a teaching moment. And I would talk to them about how it will be handled in the future, what type of negative consequence there will be, what skill they need to work on so that they don't end up using the bad words and that type of thing. So then we might practice using some other kind of word, or if we're feeling to use a bad word, what we can tell ourselves inside our head. We'd talk through all of that, and then I would let them know that in the future I would correct it. Now let's say we're in the future and the person chooses to use a bad word. Well, I'm going to come to them and do what I call an effective correction. There are multiple steps to an effective correction that I'm not going to go into in this video because there are many other videos on this channel and trainings on my website that teach all about the Teaching Self-Government Parenting methods and skills that you can use for that calm parenting style. But one thing that I do when I correct the child is I make sure that I describe what happened and why that wasn't a good thing. So again, we're going to teach why it wasn't a good thing. We'll move on with the other part of the correction, and within the correction, they get the opportunity to earn a negative consequence. Now, usually in our family, if a person does not accept a no answer, which quite frankly is what I'm going to be correcting them for, I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about bad language or swearing. Instead, I'm going to spend my time talking about the skill, accepting a no answer, and how they didn't drop the subject or they didn't use a calm voice. And then I'm going to tell them about the consequence that they earned. So normally they would earn an extra chore because we use an extra chore for almost every negative consequence because work is the antidote for a sick character. But if I have to correct it another time, then probably we will come up with a different negative consequence that is maybe a little bit more intense than just the extra chore. They might instead be told, now in the future, if you do this, because it seems like we're having a harder time with this, we're going to have to change the negative consequence. You'll earn 30 minutes of work instead of just a simple extra chore, which can take anywhere from 1 to 15 minutes. You could also say that the person has to earn a major maintenance, which is a larger chore as well. Now, if you want to know what types of chores are really great for your child based upon age, stuff like that, I do have an app. It's called the Teaching Self-Government app. You might want to check that out because it will help you find chores in the moment for your child that fits the circumstance that you're dealing with. So anyway, then your child knows they get the opportunity to accept the consequence. Are you going to be able to stop them from saying bad words forever? No. So long as they're thinking the bad words could come out of their mouth. Probably one of the biggest things that you could do is talk to them about alerting themselves when they find themselves thinking bad words. Maybe there's something they could tell themselves, or a song that they could sing, or a hymn that they could hum instead to replace that bad thought. In order to replace a bad habit, you have to put in a good habit. So one thing that I did when I was in my teen years and trying not to say bad words was I decided to hum songs when I started feeling that frustration coming on. And the types of songs that I hummed were songs that I learned at church. They were uplifting and full of light and truth instead of sometimes the lies that go through your head like, I can't handle this, I'm not okay with this. Now remember how I promised you a free gift at the end? Well, here we are at the end, and I have a free gift for you. It is the Calm Parenting Toolkit. So I have a Calm Parenting Toolkit that is a beginner course for learning self-government. It teaches just one skill, but there's 10 tools for how to help you and your child be calm, and it will help prepare you to learn all of the skills of self-government. You can access this free gift by clicking on the link in the description below this video. So there's a link that says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. If you click on that link now, it should take you right to the Calm Parenting Toolkit for free. Click on that link. I'll see you